Hey, this is Angela with this week's Living the Shift. I know it's actually been like a month, right? But I think 3 weeks. But I'm back and I'm refreshed, and I've had a lot shifting myself in my own life. And what's going on is just amazing and incredible. And the more we allow, the more incredible and amazing it gets. So I promise you that. But there's so many topics for me just to cover of what I have what's gone on in the past 3 weeks. One has been a week and a half of that. I went on a spiritual retreat to Kauai in Hawaii, and it was amazing. I've been getting the message to go since like June of 2012, which was last year, and I have learned and been able to do enough work to be able to trust that when I get the message that I need to do something like that, if it's impressed upon me as heavily as it was, then I just need to let go and accept it. That was something I learned too. Accepting is such a big part of our journey too. So accepting it, allowing it, and then letting everything manifest itself. And it really did. The situation fell into my lap, the resources fell into my lap, it all came together. And it was perfect, as it, of course, was going to be. So many topics just came up during this retreat. And part of it was just a wonderful experience of me getting pulled completely out of my element. Now, I've talked about this. We've talked about this several times for several weeks before I took my break, on how to change, how to look at the world differently, how it's time for us in living the shift and shifting forward, how to live differently, how to look at everything in our lives differently, how to look at things from a different perspective, things for us to start doing and looking at differently, because my understanding is, as I've said, we've done this a number of times. We've peaked spiritually and then crashed for the ego. And then we've done it and done it and done it. So we've sort of created this groove because that we're in, and this cycle. My understanding is we're done. We're done. We've completed the lessons pretty much. We've completed this existence of duality. So we're ready to move on to the next whatever, to the next fun, the next game, as I call it. And so that's why it's so important for us to look at things completely differently. So I've been talking about this. Well, little did I know, the gift that I was getting, part of the gift I was getting, and going out to Kauai, which, by the way, is the heart of Lemuria, like where we started, quite the base of energy, of nurturing and coming home, and just this, oh my gosh, here I am right at the beginning, cycling right back around to the beginning so that I can get the energy, so I have the love, so I have the oomph to get through this next phase of all this excitement and all this amazement and all of these changes into that next beautiful iteration of what we're doing. So part of this amazing, the amazing gift that I got in taking this trip back home, so to speak, was to be able to be completely pulled out of my element here. Pulled away from my friends, my family, my students, my clients, my community, my surroundings, my environment, all of the stuff that I usually am in. And I was pulled out to do work completely on myself, not to have to worry about working on others, and to simply be and hold space. As part of a group of retreat, we commit to oneness consciousness for the whole thing. And this way it all comes up together. We do a lot of talking, we do a lot of meditating together, we do a lot of stuff together, and it's all energetically, we all energetically meld that way. And this way it's actually a much more graceful and easy way for things to come up. It's much more open. But what was amazing was how beautiful and awesome it was for me to be able to be completely out of my element with a group of pretty much strangers. Who really, of course, weren't strangers. They were a soul family that we had agreed to come together at this time for this purpose. But to do the work that I needed to do on myself, to look at things that I might be missing because I am filling so many roles. And that's what we do a lot of times, is we fill so many roles that we forget to look at our own mirror. Or the ego becomes so complacent in filling roles, and it feels like that's what we're here to do, instead of saying, well, this is me. This is what I am. Let me reconsider this, and let me look at who I am, and let me feel who I am without these other roles being imparted on me. How often do we get to do that? So it was amazing. It was great. And I learned so much. And it's really funny. I realized in being pulled out of my element like that and looking at my world differently and living in this paradise for, a week and a half, that I was able to see things that are so deeply embedded in the groove for me, so common to be uneven, unnoticed, like reacting to things in a certain way, living a certain way, or having these really subtle attitudes that didn't serve me, but they're very, very subtle, that I didn't even notice. And it was what was really telling was one night I had these set of dreams, and I shared it with the group, and we talked about it. And everybody loved the metaphors that came through in these dreams, and so we used it a lot during the retreat. But the first one I was like in, like, it was like a grocery store, and I had all of this conveyor belt of items, and it was like little boxes and words or whatever, and I understood them all to be things that didn't serve me. And I didn't need to look at them apparently, but they were just so embedded in me that I just didn't see them. I was just blind to them because they're so much a part of the habit of being in this density that I didn't even realize that I had them consciously. So there they go down the conveyor belt. There's a being on the other side of the counter, and it's like a register, and they're ringing something up, they're ringing the stuff up, and they're taking it back. Now I don't get all the stuff back at the end. Instead, I got this big golden orb, and the orb went into my heart, and it was the most amazing thing. And then it shifted into another dream, and in that dream I was going up an escalator, and again on this escalator were all these boxes and all of these words and all of these things that didn't serve me, that I was getting ready to release. And as I got to the top of the escalator, it split off into two conveyor belts, and in one conveyor belt went all of these boxes and all of these words, and I went on the other one. And it was such a relief. I felt so free. And going down that conveyor belt, I was going into the light, into a lighter existence. And that's when I woke up. What a fabulous way of being able to gracefully and easily separate ourselves from the things, or remove the things within ourselves that we don't even see, because we have become so habitualized into doing them, or reacting a certain way, or expecting certain things, or just being a certain way. So the key was that I was able to not only get out of my element completely, and then, I've been talking about looking at, how you look at your jobs, how you look at relationships, how you look at how you live, how you look at this, how you look at that. This was pulling me out completely. And in doing so, I was observing every single moment. I didn't think about comparing. I didn't think about, a lot of times we go places and we think, okay, well, this place is better than this, or this place is worse than this, or, it's better at home because of this. You know what? I found myself living completely in the moment throughout the entire time I was there. And it was so full and rich because I appreciated every moment. I appreciated every person who was with me. I learned to respect and love and have awe for every person in that group. And quite an interesting group we were. And I'll talk about that at a different webcast, because that was a lesson in itself. But the key was, at some point, I got the message while I was there to surrender completely to everything right now. And that's what I did. That's what I did the entire trip. Anytime I started feeling the ego that started to quaver about something, or would start like projecting, the funny thing is I would be talking to one of the other women in the retreat, and if I'd start talking about something back in North Carolina, or back here actually, I would get this, it was like weird, it was like a veil came down, like, nope, not talking about that. You are right in the moment. And it was like I didn't even want to talk about it anymore. All of a sudden, I would stop mid-sentence and be like, yeah, irrelevant. Which was great. And we meditated like twice a day. We did circles and all kind of stuff. And we did all of this stuff together. And we got along famously, and we all just accepted each other. And we learned, again, we learned to love each other exactly for who we are, or who we were there right in that moment. And there were no expectations. There were no roles we had to fill, really. It was, we were there to be there. What better place to be clearing stuff, and then, like I said, that beautiful paradise. Different foods, different culture, different feeling, different environment, different temperature. How cleansing and how amazing the ocean waters were. how amazing those hikes were and the nature there. And it was so nourishing. I was able to really step back. And it's funny, I didn't plan, I didn't write, I didn't do any of that kind of stuff. I mean, I did, I wrote in my journal, but I didn't write like the book I'm supposed to be writing or anything like that. I have all this stuff, but you know what? Didn't matter. I knew it would be there when I moved forward into my next steps, after leaving Kauai. So the message on this week is to look at a way that you can try to do that. Now, you don't have to do it as completely as I do. Now, it's nice if you can, but find some place, even if you take a weekend, find some place to be alone. Many of us don't even know how to be alone. Many of us don't even know how to be out of our element, and we depend so much on how others feed us or expect from us that our ego becomes complacent and, we're fulfilling those roles. Instead of saying, let's really look down at the core. Let's look at who we really are. Are we happy with who we are right now? What is it we need to release? What doesn't serve us anymore? That's what's so important at this time, as things are shifting and changing so quickly. We do still need to step back. No matter how much we love our lives. I love my life. I love what I'm doing. I love my family, my husband, my friends. I love doing this for a living. I love helping others. I am in love with my life. Yet, that was also, because of all those roles and all those expectations, that's another point where I didn't even realize I still had stuff that was trailing underneath that still needed to be released. That didn't serve me anymore, as subtle as it was. And I know that I'm still assimilating that. I know that I also brought back some other stuff that energetically is helping opening doors or whatever that all of us are doing. But I'm still assimilating. I know I'm going to be for quite a while. And every day I wake up and I'm so appreciative. I go back there in my sleep because I know I'm still doing the work. Because in that place I allowed myself to free everything else, to release everything else, to release all the roles, and to release all the expectations. And whatever it takes for us to do that, get yourself out of it. And so here's the thing, is my understanding is the universe is going to be doing that for a lot of people in different ways. And so if you feel like you've been jarred, if your life has just changed or shifted dramatically, or even if you are temporarily pulled out of your life for some particular reason, look around you, or actually more importantly, look inside and see, where am I right now? Who am I right now? What can I love and just savor and saturate myself in right in this moment? Because it's from there that are the building blocks on rebuilding ourselves into this new world, rebuilding ourselves and moving forward in a new way. And that was actually a big message. Oh wow, that was a big, huge download. That was a big message for some of the stuff that we experienced there in Kauai, because the earth is rebuilding herself and it's time for us to do the same. So, and then I'm going to let you go. Your homework this week is to find a way, even if you get away out for a walk in nature, you can get away for a weekend, that would be wonderful, just without anybody else. Learn how to be by yourself, learn how to be in the moment, or without anybody else you know. Go into a strange place, just drive to a strange town and go around into stores or go to a restaurant and just see what it's like. Look at yourself, go into nature. Find a way to just be. That's really the key, and it's the base of what we're going to need to do moving forward. So on that, I'm going to let you go. We'll talk to you next week. This is Angela with This Week's Living the Shift.